I'm a little sick, so bear with me. What is a service dog? I know. There's always those people who say things like, who
Doesn't know what a service dog is?
A lot of people don't know, actually, fun fact. And a lot of people are uneducated. A service dog is a dog that's specifically trained to help their owner or handler, most people refer to them as handlers, with their disability. I'm located in the US, so I'm going to be referring to the ADA. Emotional support is not a task, so that does not make a dog a service dog. A dog has to perform a physical task to help their handler with their disability. They're service dogs for schizophrenia, PTSD, cardiac alert, diabetic alert, mobility, and the most well-known one is seeing eye dogs. Of course, there's a few more I missed, so it might surprise you, or not, to know that I have been told countless of times that the only legit service dog is a guide dog for blind or deaf people. I have also been told a dog can't help with PTSD, but more on that later. If you've seen any famous service dog video, chances are you've seen people in the comments calling it attention seeking for a few popular reasons, and I'm going to address them as a handler. Because why not? Of course, answers varies, handlers to handler, so keep that in mind. I am speaking from my point of view. One that I see a lot is, how did you set that camera up? Some handlers show their dogs performing a task while out or at home, and they set their phones up and record it. A lot of people think that if we have time to do that, then it's not a real emergency. I'm going to explain from my point of view. Cadet helps me with PTSD, and if I felt an episode or panic building up, I'm still half conscious, I guess to say, meaning I still have control enough to think I can click this button if I wanted to record for awareness. I haven't done this as most of my episodes involve me not thinking straight and focusing on stabilizing myself, so I'm not particularly thinking of recording. But if I was, I'm not a helpless baby. I can indeed click one button if I was in the early part of an episode, if that meant it would help bring up the topic of how debilitating PTSD is. Of course, the further the episode happened, I would not be able to do so. However, some dogs perform DPT for different things. I'm going to use POTS as an example. I've seen handlers record these too. POTS doesn't mean the person is going to burst into flames, and again, they could have plenty of time to click one button on their device to record and then let their dog do their thing. Because a handler can record when they are safely being treated doesn't mean their emergency or disability is attention seeking. A lot of handlers do this to spread awareness on their disability or service dogs in general. Again, this answer varies from handler to handler. Some handlers have GoPros, some are already recording, but this is my 2 cents of how we're able to easily record for awareness when our dog alerts us. And not every handler is able to, it just depends. I know I say it a lot, but I just want to make sure that everyone knows I'm not speaking for every handler. I'm just giving some insight of possibilities. Another thing I see is, why dye your dog? I've seen people say it helps deter dog nappers. Have I seen anything backing this up? I did try to look. I haven't seen any proof insinuating that it does. In theory, yeah, it makes sense. People have indeed stolen highly trained dogs, service dogs, and other types for breeding or reselling or for their own use. And if the dog has died, they can be easier to spot and harder to hide, like if they were going on walks and such. However, again, I haven't seen anything saying it has in fact deterred people. Maybe I haven't looked in the right places. I don't know. It makes sense, but that's just a reason that people use. It does make sense. It's an extra added layer of protection, because then the dog napper would have to shave the dog, and if it's a short-haired dog, then the dye is not going to be easily removed. So, and if it's like OPAWS, then that stuff lasts for a very long time. So again, it's not easy to remove. It makes sense. Another reason is that they're easier to see so they aren't stepped on. This one makes a lot of sense, because in Cadet's black vest and old patches, they were darker. He has gotten stepped on, and a buggy has hit him. If you don't know what a buggy is, I'm talking about a shopping cart. I'm from Oklahoma. We call them buggies. In his brighter vests and patches, people have seen him and avoided stepping on him. He's a black dog, and so when he has a black vest on, nobody really sees him, and he had black patches on too, so again, nobody really saw. So the dye is for the dogs to be brighter when they have longer tails or smaller dogs, and it does help. People do see them. The last reason, well, there's probably more reasons, but I'm just giving a few. The last reason is it's fun. Does it gain attention? Yes. Should the handlers know that? Yes, and they do know that. They are prepared for the attention that it's going to gain. All because handlers have a service dog, it doesn't mean that they're allergic to attention. It just, some people can handle it, some people can't, and to the people who cannot handle the attention should not dye their dogs. It is why I do not dye Cadet. It doesn't give people a right to pet, but it is fun to do, and compliments are usually welcome, and the handler doesn't mind. Of course, there's a whole debate about the ethical stances of dyeing an animal, but we aren't talking about that mess. I see a lot of people, mostly older people and some teens, say a dog cannot help with that. Dogs are amazing creatures that strive to work, and if they fit the job, they can be wonderful service dogs. So it's wild to think they couldn't fit the job description all because they think we need a therapist, which, fun fact, I have been to medical professionals and a service dog was recommended to me because they do help. If they did not help, then we would not have service dogs. And then I get the whole, well, of course you paid them to say that. Like, no, service dogs are not for everyone, and they're not always the route you want to go. Cadet senses before an episode happens, meaning he can stop one or shorten an episode. I have used coping mechanisms for years, and he's been the only reliable companion that has actually had a positive effect on my life and allowed me to live as normally as I can. So before you think we're getting dogs willy-nilly, medical professionals themselves recommend these dogs for people. Service dogs aren't the route for everyone, like I said. I know people with PTSD that found coping mechanisms and also medication that's helped them, and that's amazing. It's also just rude as hell to try and diagnose someone all because you aren't educated on how dogs can help. And then there is the other thing of,
Why are you recording them?
and by this, I mean handlers recording a situation that's happening. I do agree. I think some handlers go way overboard. If you film kids and don't blur their faces, I think that's kind of weird. Why are you blasting this minor's face on the internet when they're like 7 years old? I think filming for your safety and also just exposure is completely fine. It's 2025. A lot of people do record for their own safety and for views on their social media to reach larger audiences on how we're treated, and that's not wrong in my opinion. Now, if you're constantly stirring shit up, like doing DPT in the middle of a Walmart aisle and getting mad when people are around you, yeah, that's ridiculous. Being a handler doesn't give us a right to be annoying. People are gonna make sure you're okay or ask what's going on if you're in the middle of the frozen aisle with a colorful dog on your lap. And it's best to just nod and continue treatment if you can. There's nothing wrong with filming for safety or awareness, and people film others throwing coffee on McDonald's workers. I think it's okay if we film our dogs while they work and a Karen screams at us for nothing. Do I think handlers can be entitled? Absolutely. There's some handlers I see online that make me cringe as they show terrible attitudes towards the public that literally bring us a worse name. I see content creators that kind of have a bigger name that have shown terrible examples of what not to do with your dog, but that doesn't mean every handler is like that, and it definitely does not mean that those disabilities don't exist. I think it's the same thing for emotional support animals. They're not the same as service dogs, but a lot of people say that they're just shit or they don't exist or that they're useless. I don't think that. I don't think because people misuse it that we should shit on everyone for it. Basically, don't group people. I just don't think we should. But yeah, just wanted to talk about it. Bye.